Now on his way to Jerusalem, Jesus traveled along the border between Samaria and Galilee. As he was going into a village, 10 men who had leprosy met him. They stood at a distance and called out in a loud voice, "Jesus, Master, have pity on us." When he saw them, he said, "Go, show yourself to the priests." And as they went, they were cleansed. One of them, when he saw he was healed, came back, praising God in a loud voice. He threw himself at Jesus' feet and thanked him, and he was a Samaritan. Jesus asked, "Were not all 10 cleansed? Where are the other 9? Has no one returned to give praise to God except this foreigner?" Then he said to him, "Rise and go. Your faith has made you well."
It's really wonderful to celebrate this day of Thanksgiving here together with all of you, with the church beautifully decorated, with the choir and all of us singing hymns of praise and gratitude. Thanksgiving is an important day, especially in a time when gratefulness doesn't seem to make the headlines very often. Our world seems much more dominated by accusations, by blaming each other, by always finding the negative. So often enough, we are tempted to complain and lament, and I include myself in that too. Or on a good day, we call out for justice and some kind of action to make this world a better place. But today, I'm grateful it's Thanksgiving. God calls us today to stop, take a deep breath, take time to listen to Him, and find in His Word and in His presence what we need to live well. In the Gospel today, we heard the story how Jesus healed the 10 lepers, but only one came back to thank Jesus. I mean, it's a very straightforward story, but one commentator wrote, "This simple narrative contains the secret to life and the heart of our faith." So the gospel is so much more than just a story about being polite and having good manners. So let's see how it can help us to find the secret to life and the heart of our faith. At the outset of the story, we meet those 10 men who are suffering from some terrible skin disease. And that disease made them ritually unclean, and it was probably contagious, so they had to live outside of their community. And I can't even imagine what that means, to live excluded from your family, from your community, what it means to have no more support system, to fall through the cracks of the system all the time, and also knowing that probably nothing will ever change. It's amazing that those 10 guys even had the courage and the energy to call out to Jesus and cry for help. Jesus hears them, and He does what God does when He walks into people's lives. Jesus heals them. He doesn't make any demands on them. They call, and Jesus heals. When Jesus saw them, He said to them, "Go and show yourself to the priests." And as they went, they were made clean. All of them. But that's not the end of the story. Luke continues. Then one of them, when he saw that he was healed, turned back, praising God with a loud voice. He stretched himself on the ground at Jesus' feet and thanked Him. And he was a Samaritan. Wonderful story, except that only one came back to thank Jesus. And Jesus notices this immediately and is asking, were not 10 made clean? But the other 9, where are they? Was none of them found to return and give praise to God, except this foreigner? I think in a way, Jesus' response is very understandable. He just cured 10 men so that they all could return both to their family and to their community. Jesus had exactly done what they had asked him to do, and yet, of the 10 he made clean, only one bothers to come back and thank him. At this point in the story, I sometimes wonder, is Jesus confused? Is he a little bit peeved, disappointed, maybe even angry? I guess we don't know for sure. What we do know, though, is that he pretty much gets over his disappointment quickly, and he shifts his attention to the one who's standing in front of him. And he offers him a blessing and says, "Get up and on your way, your faith has made you well." And this last sentence is worth our attention. Get up and go, your faith has made you well. Wasn't he, like the other 9, already clean and healthy? Yes, his skin was spotless. He was cleansed by Jesus. His health had been approved by the priests. But the Greek word used here to talk about healing has one then more meaning. It actually means healing in the sense from the skin becoming not from being ill and the skin becomes clean and healthy, but it also means to make whole, to be saved. And that means all the 10 lepers were healed, but only the Samaritan was made whole. And that is why the commentator wrote, "This story contains the secret to life." The Samaritan was different in that he noticed Jesus' grace and felt an inner need to return and thank Jesus for what he had received. That doesn't seem like a lot. Noticing a blessing and giving thanks to God can seem like such a small thing, and yet it can make all the difference. Because thankfulness can change our whole outlook on others, on our current situation, on life. And I've seen it many times. For example, in the parents that are simply in awe when the new baby has arrived. A friend of ours who had his own struggles with faith once said to me, the closest he ever felt to God was after the birth of his children. It was in the deep gratitude that he felt for this new life. Or I've seen it even in people who had to live in the hospice and their life was coming to an end. Their gratitude for the loving care they receive and the unconditional attention they could get. The thankfulness didn't change the situation, but it gave them a peace and a comfort. Or simply the glow in the face of a child receiving an unexpected treat. Thankfulness changes us. It can free us from our self-centeredness. It can reduce our fears and bring us closer to God, who is the source of all of our blessings. And so I don't think Jesus was upset or angry at the 9 who didn't come back. I think his heart ached for them, that though they were made clean, they missed out on the blessing that comes from thanking God. Well, the good news is that this gratitude, which restores and heals, which completes us and saves us, is available to us every single moment of our lives. Probably you have noticed how powerful it is, not only to receive a blessing, but also to name it and give thanks for it. Maybe you are at a dinner with family and friends, and it's one of those special meals, prepared with love, served and eaten deliberately, where time just stops for a little while, and you all are caught up and bound together by this sense of community and joy. And then
You lean it over to your neighbor at the table, or maybe even raise your glass and in a toast and say, "This is great. This time, this meal, all of you, thank you." And in seeing and giving thanks, the original blessing is somehow multiplied. You're kind of been blessed a second time. Or maybe you've visited some wonderful place in nature or in a city, taking in the beauty of what you see. And then you lean over to your travel companion and say, "This is so beautiful. I'm so glad you're here to share it with me." And again, the blessing is multiplied, and you have been blessed again. So, let's look at our world, filled with troubles, yes, but also filled with so many blessings. Families that care for each other, colleagues who work hard and well, schools where teachers care about their pupils and students who are eager to learn. A form of government that is far from perfect and yet strives to keep democracy going and honor its citizens. Relief agencies that tend to the afflicted, good neighbors who support one another. And last not least, our community of faith, where we worship together and celebrate God's presence among us. And maybe this is a good moment for me to say thank you for this loving congregation. Thank you for the board members who have worked over years and years to come to this place where we are now, that we are ready to enter that new phase and renovate our church. And I know it took hours and days of hard work for all of them. And I'm so thankful that they stuck it through and that we all together made it to this point. Thankfulness can change us. So let us follow the Samaritan's example in noticing our blessings and giving thanks for them. And in that, we will become well and whole. Amen.
Jesus. sing your praise.